What's up guys, welcome back. Today we've got a video from men only and things get pretty wild. Let's dive straight in. Modern women losing it after men start putting them in the friend zone.
If a guy likes you, he will ignore you. Forever. Like forever and ever. He'll never message you, not even once.
Fellas, welcome back. Today's video is all about a surprising trend. Modern women losing their minds as men are friend zoning them. We'll break down why this is happening, the reactions from women, and what it means for modern dating dynamics. If you're ready to explore this shift in relationships, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out. Let's get started.
One of the biggest lies I used to tell myself, but I thought was the truth when I was single before I got married, was men are intimidated by me. I thought because I had a house, a car, been driving BMW since I was 24 years old, I thought that because I made a lot of money, that men just couldn't handle it, they were intimidated, and they were turned off because I was doing better than them.
This is a pretty common misconception I keep seeing online. You'll have someone who's doing well in her career, nice job, nice car, a solid lifestyle, and when dating isn't going the way she expected, the conclusion becomes, men must be intimidated by me. But more often than not, it's not intimidation. It's just that those things aren't automatically what many men prioritize when they're deciding who they want to date seriously. Success is impressive, sure, but it doesn't replace the basics of attraction and compatibility. How you communicate, your temperament, your values, how peaceful or stressful you are to be around, and whether the relationship feels mutual. A lot of women evaluate long-term potential by looking at stability, career, finances, direction. Many men, on average, don't rank those assets as highly at the beginning. Not because they're anti-success, but because they're usually not dating a resume, they're dating the person. So if men aren't pursuing, it's usually not they're scared. It's simpler, they're not feeling the connection, the vibe doesn't match, or the dynamic feels high maintenance. Intimidation is a convenient explanation. Compatibility is the real one.
That is one of the biggest lies, or the things that we think, when really the problem is us. If you find yourself saying, well, men are just intimidated by me, I make too much money, they don't like that I'm just direct and I stand up for myself. If you keep getting that kind of results from men, most likely it's not because they're intimidated, they just don't like you.
Yeah, it's usually not the confidence or the directness that puts people off. It's when every conversation somehow turns into a courtroom drama and every tiny disagreement gets treated like a final boss battle. A lot of people confuse being strong with being combative. They think they're just speaking their truth, but what others often hear is, get ready, because even a normal conversation might come with cross-examination and a closing argument. And here's the shocking part, most men, and honestly most people, aren't looking for a relationship that feels like unpaid conflict management. After a long day of work and real-life stress, nobody's excited to come home to a debate club they never signed up for. Being assertive is fine. Having standards is fine, but if your version of communication feels like constant friction, don't be surprised when people stop seeing you as strong and start seeing you as exhausting.
And I'm not trying to say this to be mean or to be like nasty, but that was what I was going through. They thought I was attractive, they liked being around me, but they just weren't into me because the way that I exuded my ego. A lot of women don't realize when they make money and they have all these accomplishments, the ego drives the conversation. It drives your energy, how you carry yourself, how you interact with men, where your ego is like, well, because you're not on my level, da 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 da. And nobody wants to be treated like that, man or woman. I'll give you guys a perfect example. Girl with the pink dress on Pop the Balloon. A lot of people were like, oh, I like her personality. She seems funny. She seems cool. She even said she was a sweetheart. And all those things can be true. That does not mean that's what's attractive to a man. Ladies, the things that we like about ourselves and the things that we like about our homegirls does not mean that men find that attractive or want that to be what they want in a relationship. And I'm not saying change who you are to appease a man, but if you're not getting the results that you want in the dating sphere and you want to be married, you have to check how you talk to people, how you treat people, the energy you have. Normally it stems from childhood. Normally it stems from being an overachiever. It stems from being somebody that's very type A. It stems from being somebody that is a perfectionist.
You know, I actually agree with a fair bit of what this woman is saying, but notice how carefully she has to say it. She has to wrap the point in velvet because the kind of people she's talking about usually don't respond well to blunt honesty. And that mindset, the whole "I'm the prize, people should do everything for me" attitude, doesn't usually come from excellence. It's not always confidence, and it's definitely not always character. A lot of the time, it looks more like entitlement that's been overwrought by constant validation from strangers online. These days, a few compliments and some social media attention can have people acting like they're a once-in-a-generation experience, when in reality they're just difficult, self-centered, and very impressed with themselves. That's the funny part. So yes, the woman in the video has to present it gently, like, maybe we should reflect on how we treat other people, because if she said what she really meant more directly, half the audience would immediately prove her point. And at the core of it, that's the issue. Some people aren't struggling because no one understands them. They're struggling because they don't think mutual respect applies to them. They want consideration, patience, effort, and grace, but offering those things back, suddenly that part gets very quiet. Now, will people like that change? Some might, a lot probably won't, and honestly, that's their choice. People are free to live however they want, but they're not free from the consequences of treating relationships like a one-way service package.
Normally, when people are like that to themselves, they're hyper critical of other people. So if you tend to have this personality trait where you're very defensive, you're standoffish, you have your guard up 24/7, 365, and you don't know how to let your hair down and have fun and speak to people lightly, gracefully, then you could probably have this problem. So just do some self-reflection, sis. It might not be because he's intimidated. He might just not like you.
Exactly. Men aren't intimidated by women. That's just a narrative some women tell themselves to avoid facing reality. It's not that men are afraid of strong, independent women. It's that they simply don't care about the things women often think matter most, like job titles, salaries, or possessions. A lot of women think that if they have a good job or make a certain amount of money, that automatically makes them more attractive. But men don't value women the same way women value men. Men are more interested in qualities like kindness, loyalty, respect, and emotional support. When women make their career or their accomplishments the centerpiece of their personality, they've already lost a lot of guys' interest.
I mean, this is kind of how some people try to market themselves for relationships, isn't it? They decide they want something serious, and the first pitch is basically a LinkedIn profile with better lighting. Look at my career, look at my car, look at my accomplishments. And while that may be impressive on paper, a lot of men are sitting there thinking, okay, but what do you like to actually be around? Because for many guys, the checklist is a lot less corporate than people think. They're not looking for a quarterly report. They want someone who's kind, calm, enjoyable to spend time with, and not turning every minor inconvenience into a full-scale production. And that's where the disconnect happens. Success is great, nobody saying it is. But if the entire relationship pitch is built around status symbols, don't be surprised when it doesn't land the way you expected. A relationship usually isn't built on resume points, it's built on compatibility, peace, character, and mutual respect. Now, if someone keeps struggling in dating over a long period of time, it's fair to ask whether the issue might be deeper than just all the good ones are gone or people are intimidated. Sometimes the harder answer is the more useful one. Maybe the problem isn't a lack of attention, but a mismatch between what's being offered and what people actually want. Anyway, let's move on to the next clip.
Men tell me about their
Healthy relationship.
The things that men tell me and other women tell me about their relationships, women's standards for themselves is in hell. It always shocks me. I'm like, you what? What? I'm sorry, but at this point, like, we live in a time now where women are becoming self-made millionaires left and right. You have the option to do that. Like, why are you guys dating men if your standards are in hell? You need to go see a therapist. You need to go do some healing. If you were dating men and like, y'all are like, oh, I'm a dream girl, I'm a dream girl. No, girl, you're Papa John's. It's hot and ready and to the door in 30 minutes. Like, how are y'all's standards so in hell? And it makes me feel like I'm crazy. I'm like, damn, how am I getting away with all the shit that I'm getting away with? Because apparently there's all these women walking around who will accept down here.
Yeah, and you know why this keeps happening? Because a lot of people set one set of rules for the partners they really want, and a completely different set of rules for everyone else. That's the funny part. Someone will go online and say, if a man wants my attention, he needs to take me out, put in effort, prove himself, make it worth my time. But if the attraction is strong enough, suddenly that long list of requirements gets very flexible very fast. So it's not always about standards in principle, it's often about leverage and how interested they are in that specific person. And then when that highly desired person doesn't offer commitment, doesn't invest much, or keeps things casual, that's when the frustration kicks in. Not because the rules were violated, but because the exception didn't turn into the outcome they wanted. The money point is funny too. Some people genuinely seem to think, I have a great income, I'm successful, I've built a lifestyle, why isn't that automatically moving the needle? And the answer is because a lot of men are not evaluating relationship potential the same way. Financial success can be attractive, sure, but it usually isn't the main thing many men are screening for. They're looking at personality, warmth, peace, chemistry, and whether being around you feels good long term. That's where the disconnect lives. People assume others value the same things they value, then act confused when the market doesn't respond the way they expected. But dating doesn't work on projection. You don't get to decide what other people are supposed to prioritize. So yeah, if the message is, men should go above and beyond because I have money status, that's probably not going to land the way some think it will. Attraction and commitment usually don't come from credentials alone. They come from compatibility, reciprocity, and how the other person experiences you.
Like, that is the standard. That's what I hear more often. More often than not, women's standards, even if they're gorgeous, beautiful, whatever, their standards are in the pit of hell.
Yeah, I actually agree with part of what she's saying here. The issue isn't just standards in general, it's that a lot of people seem to have very flexible standards when the person is attractive enough. That's really the point. It's not that standards disappear, it's that they suddenly become negotiable for the right person. Rules that sound strict in theory can get very relaxed in practice when someone is attractive, charismatic, or exciting enough. Now, of course, people want to date someone they're attracted to. That part is normal. But where the disconnect happens is that many men are willing to consider a wider range of women attractive enough to date seriously, while a lot of women, especially on dating apps, appear to filter much more aggressively at the front end. So when people say, well, men also want attractive partners, sure, obviously, but the threshold often doesn't seem to function the same way. A lot of men don't require perfection to be interested. They're not out here running a luxury brand approval process before deciding someone is relationship material. And I think this gets exaggerated constantly, that men only care about looks above all else. For most men, looks matter, yes, but they're not the whole equation. Personality, warmth, attitude, peace, and how someone actually makes life feel tend to matter a lot more than people online like to admit. So yeah, attraction matters for everyone, but pretending both sides evaluate it the exact same way probably misses the point entirely.
That's what I hear more often than not. Women's standards, even if they're gorgeous, beautiful, whatever, their standards are in the pit of hell. So I'm like, how am I getting away from asking for this when like 99% of women are asking for this shit?
I do have to wonder, though, if this approach is supposedly working so well, what exactly is the end result? Because it's one thing to talk confidently about all the demands you can make and all the leverage you think you have, but the more important question is, has any of that actually led to the kind of relationship you claim to want? That's the part people are always a little less eager to clarify. And to be fair, this isn't about whether someone has a ring on their finger at this exact moment. It's about whether the strategy produces anything meaningful beyond short-term attention, validation, or transactional wins. So where exactly is the victory here? If the biggest achievement is collecting attention, extracting favors, or proving you can get people to entertain your demands, that's not exactly a relationship success story. It's just a different kind of scoreboard. And no, that's not some grand accomplishment. Getting attention is easy. Building something real is the part that actually counts.
Y'all need to have some self-respect. I cannot believe the shit that I hear sometimes, from women and from men. I will meet a man who's 5'3" and ugly and has no money, and he's dating a supermodel who pays half his rent. Like, that is what I'm seeing.
I'm not really seeing the success story here. I'd honestly be curious to look a little closer, because so far the sales pitch sounds a lot stronger than the actual results. Let's go back to that description again for a second, because I want to hear exactly how this is being framed. Sometimes the wording tells you everything you need to know.
I cannot believe the shit that I hear sometimes, from women and from men. I will meet a man who's 5'3" and ugly and has no money, and he's dating a supermodel who pays half his rent.
I'm pretty skeptical of that. Not saying it's impossible, sure, every now and then the stars line up and you get an outcome like that. But let's be honest, that's more of an exception than a pattern. Even if it happens, it's definitely not the norm.
Like, that is what I'm seeing. And we should all hold each other accountable for that and maybe bring back shame a little bit. Bring back shame. Because we gotta increase the standard of our overall demographic. Because holy hell, is it in the fucking gutter.
Exactly. The bar women set these days is sky high. But when it comes to accountability, it seems like it's buried in the ground. Women want men to be this perfect mix of everything. Successful, charming, emotionally available, protective, and confident. But at the same time, they don't hold themselves to the same standards. It's always about what a man can do for them, never what they can bring to the table. Women talk about wanting a man who respects them, treats them like a queen, and provides for them. But what are they offering in return? A lot of women don't have basic relationship skills like communication, compromise, or even showing appreciation for a man's efforts. They expect men to read their minds and meet their emotional needs while not being willing to meet the man halfway. And when relationships fail, who gets the blame? Men. Always. It's easier to point fingers at men than for women to reflect on what they're doing wrong. If they're not happy, it must be because the man isn't doing enough, not because their expectations are unrealistic or because they haven't put in the effort themselves. Women want the fairy tale romance without acknowledging that relationships take work from both sides. The truth is, women need to take a hard look in the mirror. They want men who are high value, but are they bringing high value qualities themselves? If women continue to demand more without offering the same, relationships are always going to feel one-sided. Relationships won't improve until women start holding themselves accountable. They need to stop seeing themselves as victims and start realizing that if they want a better outcome, they need to put in the effort too. Women can't keep asking men to meet their every need while they bring entitlement and nothing else to the table.
You already know what the counter-argument is going to be. I do give 100%, I do put in effort, I do try, and I still get treated badly. And sure, that may be true in some cases. But here's the uncomfortable part. Effort by itself doesn't guarantee the right outcome if it's being invested in the wrong people. A lot of the time, the issue is nobody appreciates my effort. It's that the effort is being poured into someone who was never seriously interested in the first place. And that's the part people skip over. They'll go above and beyond, but usually for the person they're the most emotionally attached to or the most attracted to. So the real problem often isn't a lack of effort. It's misdirected effort, unrealistic expectations, and hopping high investment will somehow create genuine interest where there wasn't much to begin with. So yeah, I gave everything sounds dramatic, but if it was given to someone who never intended to build anything real, then the lesson probably is all relationships are broken. It's effort without discernment is just expensive disappointment.
And damned if we don't. No matter what action we take or what we say, women are going to find fault with it. They'll never appreciate us for what we do. They'll never acknowledge in a positive way anything we do. And they'll always look for the negative. And when I say things like that, the ladies tend to get really upset, saying, "That's not true. We're not like that." Well, ladies, I give you Exhibit A.
So I went on a first date and a car was about to hit me and he grabbed me and pulled me away. And I don't know why, but that just gave me the ick. Because it's literally the first date. Why are you so obsessed with me? Like, it was just so desperate. And it's like, play it cool.
As I said, men are damned if they do and damned if they don't.
Wait, did this guy just pull her out of oncoming traffic? And the response was, "That gave me the ick. Am I missing a chapter here?" So let me get this straight. The man potentially saved you from a life-changing accident or worse, and somehow the takeaway is that he's the problem. That is an absolutely fascinating standard. At that point, I don't even know what to call it anymore. If basic self-preservation being helped by someone is now unattractive, then we may have officially entered parody territory.
Here she is making a video, calling out a guy for following the sidewalk rule and protecting her when she was about to get hit by a car, apparently. And she has a problem with that. I guess logically we have to assume that he should have just let her get hit by the car, get injured, and potentially, well, not be around anymore.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you can't demand one thing and punish it the moment you get it. You can't say men should be more supportive, more helpful, more confident, and then when a guy does help, does speak up, or even just gives a normal compliment, you turn it into a public joke or label it as automatically creepy. Because the outcome is predictable, people stop taking that risk. They'll just think, cool, not worth it, and withdraw the behavior entirely. Same thing with approaching. If the message becomes approach us, but only the exact people we personally approve of, and if we don't approve you might get shamed for it, then most men are going to choose the safest option, don't approach at all, not out of spite, out of self-preservation. And to be fair, there's a difference between respectful behavior and genuinely inappropriate behavior. Nobody is saying people should tolerate harassment, but if normal, respectful interaction gets treated like a crime, you'll get less normal, respectful interaction. That's how incentives work. The traffic example is the clearest illustration. If someone does the right thing, steps in to prevent harm, and gets mocked for it, the real loss isn't just the guy's willingness to help. The loss is a little piece of social trust. And yeah, that's a depressing direction for any society to go. So if people want more kindness, more courage, and more decency in public, they probably shouldn't punish it when it shows up.
And rather than appreciate that he did that, here she is making a video on TikTok calling him out for doing it. Does anyone want to guess what would have happened if he didn't do it? Well, of course. She'd be making a video saying, why didn't he protect me? Why did he let me get hit? Why didn't he follow the sidewalk rule? What happened to real men? As I said, men are damned if they do and damned if they don't.
I'm hearing a very detailed list of what men are supposedly required to do. Pay, plan, protect, initiate, open doors, buy flowers. The full job description is apparently available before the relationship even starts. What I'm not hearing nearly as much is the other side of the equation. What exactly is being offered in return? Because if one side has a whole checklist of duties and the other side just has preferences, that's not really dating, that's a performance review with no salary. And here's the part that makes it even messier. A lot of those same behaviors are only considered good if she already likes you. If she doesn't, suddenly the exact same action gets reclassified as annoying, awkward, or inappropriate. So the rules aren't really rules, they're mood-dependent. That's why a lot of guys feel like they can't win. If they show interest, it's a problem. If they respectfully back off, somehow that's also a problem. At a certain point, people stop trying to decode the contradictions and just opt out of the game entirely. So yeah, if dating advice sounds like men must do everything, and women reserve the right to judge the effort afterward, don't be surprised when fewer men feel excited to participate.
So the honest truth is, the best option for men these days is just to avoid women completely. And when we're around them, to let them fend for themselves. Because as I said, nothing we do is ever acknowledged, let alone appreciated. At least not in a positive way. And for all you ladies out there who love to jump in my comments and say, it's not all women, well, I hate to break it to you, but it is, because now we're following the same rules and applying the same standards that you've applied to men for decades now.
I get the not all women point, and sure, most people are reasonable. But what makes guys cautious is that the downside can feel disproportionate if a situation gets misunderstood or escalated. In places like work or the gym, the margin for error is small. Even a well-intentioned approach can land badly if the timing is off, the other person isn't interested, or it comes across as intrusive. And once someone feels uncomfortable, it can turn into a complaint, and then you're dealing with policies, staff, HR, stuff that gets stressful fast. So it's not that every woman is out to ruin someone. It's that in certain settings, the risk of misinterpretation and consequences feels high enough that a lot of men decide it's not worth it. Especially in workplaces where you can't just walk away from the situation afterward. And yes, online culture doesn't help. Accusations can spread faster than context, and people often rush to conclusions. Even when the truth comes out later, reputations don't always bounce back cleanly. So the practical takeaway isn't paranoia, it's strategy. Don't flirt where the cost of misunderstanding is huge. Keep it respectful, red signals, and if you're unsure, don't push. Save dating for environments where people are actually open to being approached, social events, mutual circles, and clear dating contexts.
Called equality. Y'all wanted it. Now you got it.
It really does feel like a no-win situation for men with women these days, doesn't it? You're expected to be everything: confident, successful, emotionally available, but not too emotional, assertive but not aggressive, ambitious but not too busy. And on top of all that, women keep shifting their expectations, making it feel like no matter what a guy does, there's always something they're going to criticize. Take dating, for example. You approach a woman with confidence. Suddenly, You're labeled cocky or creepy if you're not exactly her type. Play it safe and try to be respectful. Now you're seen as weak or uninterested.
Yeah, we literally just saw a clip like this recently. A guy went out of his way to ask for clear consent, and somehow that got labeled as a turn-off. At a certain point, the contradiction starts sounding like satire. That's why a lot of men feel like the rules are written in disappearing ink. If you ask, it's wrong. If you don't ask, it's also wrong. You really do end up in a can't win either way situation. Anyway, let's move on to the next clip. Someone in the hat asks, how do you date when you love being single? I mean, usually you don't, but let's hear her out.
I have a genuine question. How do you date when you genuinely love being single? I honestly find it so hard. I keep downloading these apps, right? I get on there, I see the talent, I'll have a couple of conversations, and then I get so deflated, I delete it. Like, it's actually so much effort. It's like a full-time job.
No way she's comparing sending a few messages on a dating app to having a full-time job. That's a bold level of dramatics right there. If that's the standard now, then apparently typing, hey, how's your week going, deserves overtime pay and a benefits package.
Managing those apps. Like, I feel like I've just gotten to the point where I'm so independent. Like, I literally take myself to the movies. I take myself on holidays. I'm like trying to start my own businesses. Like, I genuinely love doing everything on my own.